One man, one mission, to rid the world of chronic anxiety once and for all. The anxiety guy, Dennis Simsek, shares his personal transformation from living a life filled with overwhelming worry to becoming a full-fledged positivity machine, a leading authority in generalized anxiety. Dennis gets to the truth of your mental health challenges and sets you on a path to transforming each and every area of your life. Here he is, the one and only, the anxiety guy.
Welcome to the Anxiety Guy podcast. This is episode number 50, a milestone. Thank you for being a listener. Thank you for being a valued Facebook page member. Head on over to Anxiety Guy on Facebook for all the updates. As well, you can head on over to Twitter and follow me at _anxiety_guy. Now today we're talking about the genes and your anxiety. Is there a connection? What's going on there? My dad, my mom, my sister, my brother has anxiety, Dennis. But does that mean that it has kind of dwindled down towards me? Is there a connection? I get this question a lot, and I'm strictly going to answer this on the basis of my own personal experience, my own research as a CBT practitioner. Okay, so everything on this podcast is my own opinions, going through my own research and my own education. So guys, I want to give you guys a little bit of a background. If you've done the program at anxietyexit.com, you know a lot about my past. You know my inspirational story, overcoming health anxiety and panic attacks. So my father actually had huge generalized anxiety, and that just meant that he was very verbally, mentally, emotionally abusive, not only to me, but to my mother and to his mother and to his siblings as well. And if we look down the road there, his father, my grandpa, in fact, was very, very similar. He, again, had huge generalized anxiety, and he, lived life as seeing the world in a fearful place, seeing it as a threat to his existence, and anything that came up in their lives, any kind of challenge, the way they handled it was a way where it was very destructive, not only for themselves, but for the people that they were associating themselves with, people that they were talking with. And I had to have a couple of question marks in my head, and I had to go, you know what? Has this been passed down? Has it really been passed down onto me? And I went through this for a number of years, and I recognized very quickly that I needed to stop connecting those dots. I really did. Because what kept my anxiety alive, whether the research says so or not, was this idea that because my father and my grandfather had anxiety throughout the beginning, the middle, and the end of their lives, that just meant that I had anxiety as well. Okay, so basically when I made that connection, it just fueled more stress, more chronic anxiety, more fearful thoughts, more debilitating experiences in life. And so the first thing I had to do, and this was basically towards the end of my health anxiety journey, my generalized anxiety journey, and towards the end, I said, you know what? I'm making a lot of links here. I'm making a ton of associations between people and me, between environments and me, between things and me. And basically, I associated certain things, people, places, to heightening my anxiety. And with my father and grandfather, there was no real difference between that. It was like, okay, because they had it, that means that I will have it forever. I had to break that chain. I had to break that pattern and recognize that it is not a lifelong sentence. Anxiety, in my opinion, is an environmental issue, okay? I believe in conditioning. That's what I believe in. I don't believe that because someone in our family has anxiety that we must live with it for the rest of our lives. First things first, we must make that connection. It's crucial. It's absolutely crucial. And when you do that, you give yourself freedom. and you start to move away from fear, and you start to become this identity of a warrior, someone who can look their challenges in the eyes, look their fears in the eyes, and take action towards it daily, and to build on one small success on top of another. Because I talk about this on YouTube a lot, between the gap between two identities, one which is your victim and one which is your warrior identity. And the reason that the gap is so big and you are the victim right now, and it's so far you can't even see the light towards the warrior, is because first you need to identify and give it the 10 characteristics. What would victim do? How would victim think? How would they act on a daily basis? How would they approach their mornings? All the characteristics of what victim would do and think and behave like, and all the things that warrior would do, think, behave like. So you must have a clear vision of the two. And it all starts with awareness. It truly does. Here's where I am in my life, and here's where I want to go. In order for me to get there, I must close the gap. In order for me to close the gap between those two identities, I must start to challenge myself. I must start to look at the evidence behind the fear that I am giving so much respect to, and I must start to take action, because when I do, that is when confidence builds. Confidence is not a prerequisite towards doing something, towards overcoming a fear or a challenge. It starts to build. Assurance in yourself starts to build as you partake in that fearful challenge that you think is a monster right now, but in fact is a fly buzzing around your head, just looking for your attention. Now, with the genes issue, studies show that the risk of anxiety tends to run in families, but the role of genetic influence versus the influence of the family environment remains unclear. With this question, it's very difficult for researchers to come up with a conclusive answer, guys. Okay? And the other thing is if you are truly living your life with the idea, with the link and association that because your father has anxiety, you must also have anxiety, then you will live with anxiety for the rest of your life. And understand that studies show that environmental factors are a huge contributor to anxiety. And a lot of our subconscious programming has started between the ages of 0 and 5 and 0 and 7, okay? And as we move towards our childhood and towards adulthood, we just keep reinforcing that fear, that learned behavior. We come to this world as a baby, completely fearless. We start crawling, and then the unimaginable happens. A baby goes from crawling to trying to walk, okay? But the baby doesn't fall once and say, oh, well, I guess that's just too far away from my potential, okay? The baby in you, the person you were coming to this planet, was fearless. And you fell, and you fell, and you fell, and you kept getting back up, and you kept getting back up, okay? And then, as a child, you said, you know what? I'm going to ride a bike, okay? And you fell, and dad picked you up, or mom picked you up, or your friends picked you up, and same thing. You fell, you got up, you fell, you got up, and so forth. Today, okay, that is the kind of approach that we need. And the word that I want you guys to run away with in this podcast episode is relentless. You must be relentless towards overcoming your fears and challenges in your life. You must first become aware of what is feeding your anxiety, what is feeding your fears, what environments, in fact, are you running away from, and then you must look it in the eye and you must say, I am going to step up. I'm going to step up to this challenge because I've been brought to this planet fearless, okay? And I will go back to being playful. I will go back to being absorbed in what I'm doing. I will go back to being focused in what I'm doing. And if I put those things together, I can make any change happen in my life. Now, a genetic predisposition to anxiety could start young, okay? Remember that we haven't really negated the possibility of genes being a part of your anxiety, okay? Studies have shown that it's inconclusive. Studies have also shown that when anxiety develops before age 20, before the age of 20, close relatives are more likely to have anxiety as well. The tendency to develop an anxiety disorder might stem from your genes, but your life experiences and environments play a bigger role. That is the part we need to understand. Now, research into the genetic roots of anxiety hasn't revealed any treatment strategies that might work better than cognitive behavioral therapy. The problem with today's world is that everything we do happens quickly. We want a certain answer to a question and we go on Google. You know, as a person growing up in middle school and high school, I didn't really have the answers that we have today. I couldn't go on a computer and look on Google and get the answers that I need for my homework or something that I was interested in, or, you know, like a passion I had or a question I had. I couldn't do that. Today we live with this thing called the internet. And the internet has been such an amazing opportunity for so many people to further their knowledge, to gain a better understanding as far as anxiety goes and this and that. But the internet can also be an abusive area. It can hurt you in a lot of ways. And if we look at our world, you know, if I wanted a blue shirt, I could just head down a block and I could, in about 10 minutes, pick up the exact blue shirt that I want. If I save enough money and I want a mortgage, right? Boom, and I can get that done. I can get the process going right away. If I want an answer to anything, I can go on the internet. With anxiety, we must see it differently because we are all programmed. We are all conditioned to think, to react, to behave, and our perception of the world is all different. When we look at an event and there's 3 different people looking at that event, we're all going to see that event in a different way. So what I'm trying to get to here, guys, is that anxiety is not something that you can just switch off in an instant, okay? There are different ways, and cognitive behavioral therapy for me, has been the most powerful way to overcome anxiety, okay? And when you buy into this idea that CBT is in fact the way to go, and CBT will take a couple of weeks to 3 months to start working in your life, then you start to create the changes that you want in your life. The biggest problem today is that we're always, because this fear and anxiety is so debilitating, we feel like we need something really, really quickly. We need an answer. But here's the thing. Symptoms of anxiety are uncomfortable. They're uncomfortable. They're something that you want to change, but they're not something that you need to change. You don't need to change it. You don't need to alter it in that instant like you would need water if you were supremely dehydrated, like you would need food if you were so bloody hungry. It's not the same. It's not the same, but we treat it the same because our mind creates this illusion, this idea that we must create the change now or death is upon us. That is what health anxiety is. That is what panic attack is. It's the fear of death. And guess how you overcome that? You deal with the root, which is the fear of death. You don't look at a symptom and go, oh, it's a headache. Okay, let me take a couple of Advils, a couple of ibuprofens, and hopefully the headache will go away. Headache, okay, is related to tension. Tension builds through a certain pattern. In order for you to overcome your headache in full, you must break the pattern. And the only way for you to break the pattern is to get to the root of the problem. What is it that you're fearing the most? What is it? What is it that's causing anxiety? For my dad, for instance, he was basically in a rut because he was threatened by people's advice, people's opinions. When people said something to him that he did not agree with, automatically he turned into this raging monster. And he said, you know what, that's not true. This is the way it's supposed to be. But can you blame him? No, because he's going through life with the information that he has gotten up to then. Okay? You cannot blame someone for their anxiety. Nobody is to blame for their anxiety. We are unconscious beings. And because we are unconscious beings, we must consciously step in to those core beliefs that we have in our lives. Those core beliefs, those identity statements that we make on a daily basis that fuels our anxiety. I am lonely. I am useless. I can't do this sport. I'm not good enough. Guess what? Your subconscious mind is taking notes. Just like a journalist would take notes, your subconscious mind is taking notes all the time. And that's the way it rolls. Guys, thank you so much for being a part of this milestone episode of the Anxiety Guy podcast. I hope I've answered this very important question between your genes and anxiety. If you have any questions, head over to anxietyexit.com. Shoot me a question. Would love to get involved with you guys. Would love to run you through the program, which is again a CBT-based program. I'll see you guys in the next episode, but first understand that you are more than anxiety. Bye, guys.
Thanks for being an important part of the Anxiety Guy podcast community. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a positive rate and review. If you're searching for further support on your road to recovery from anxiety, head over to anxietyexit.com and take part in the powerful End the Anxiety program based around the CBT model. If you're searching for a more one-on-one approach, you can sign up now for personal coaching sessions with Dennis via Skype. Remember, you are more than anxiety. See you in the next episode.